Today, we're making chocolate ginger sugar cookie dough. But here's the twist. This isn't just a recipe for the video. I'm actually preparing my Christmas cookies right now, and I've doubled the batch so I'll have plenty to share. Imagine a holiday cookie with all the warm gingerbread spices, a touch of chocolate, and a hint of maple. Curious? I promise it's as delicious as it sounds. I'll walk you through each step, and don't worry. The ingredients listed here and in the description below are for a single batch, so you can adjust as needed. Let's jump into this festive baking. I'm Arina, and welcome to my kitchen. Here on my channel, I love sharing recipes that aren't just delicious, but also look beautiful and festive. Perfect for any occasion. I'll walk you through my favorite tips to make this recipe as simple and enjoyable as possible, right from my home to yours. You can find links to all the tools I use, along with other recipes, in the description below. Let's dive in and get baking. As always, before jumping in, I like to measure and prepare all my ingredients. Having everything ready makes the process so much easier and prevents any mid-recipe scrambling. Let's get organized. In a large mixing bowl, I start with 3 cups of all-purpose flour, and to this, I add a 1/4 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. The cocoa brings that deep chocolate flavor that's so perfect with holiday spices and gives these cookies a rich, indulgent taste. Next, I add 1 teaspoon each of ground cinnamon and ground ginger. These spices add a cozy warmth and festive flavor, turning this chocolate dough into something extra special for the holidays. For leavening, I add 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda, which helps the cookies bake up soft yet sturdy enough to hold their shape. Then, I add 1/2 teaspoon of salt to balance out the sweetness. A little salt really enhances the flavors, making each bite taste more rounded and full. Here's an optional addition I love: a tablespoon of cornstarch. Cornstarch is a great secret weapon for cutout cookies because it helps reduce spreading in the oven, so your cookies keep their perfect shapes. Just 1 tablespoon per batch is all you need. It also gives the cookies a slightly softer, more delicate texture, a subtle but lovely effect. Once all the dry ingredients are in, I grab my whisk and mix them thoroughly until everything is well combined. I like using a simple whisk here because it's quick and easy, and it keeps the cocoa and spices from clumping. But if you want an extra fine mix, you could also use a large sifter to combine these dry ingredients, though personally I find a whisk does the job beautifully without needing extra tools. Whisking until everything is evenly distributed ensures each cookie has that perfect balance of chocolate and spice. Once the dry ingredients are thoroughly mixed, I set the bowl aside, ready to bring everything together. In a separate bowl, I start with 1 large egg. I like to go with a large egg for consistency and to make sure the dough holds together just right. Next, I add 1/2 cup of maple syrup. This gives the dough a beautiful richness and subtle caramel flavor, which pairs perfectly with the chocolate and spices. To enhance the flavor even more, I add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Vanilla brings a gentle sweetness that balances all the warm flavors in this dough. I whisk the egg, maple syrup, and vanilla together until they're perfectly smooth and fully blended. There's something so comforting about this mix. The amber hue, the rich scent of maple syrup, and the hint of vanilla all feel like holiday magic coming together in a bowl. Every year I'm reminded of how my holiday baking has become a tradition with my kids. When they were little, they'd sit at the counter, mesmerized by the sweet aromas filling the kitchen. Now my daughter loves to help whisk, and it's heartwarming to see her get just as excited as I do. Here's a tip. Letting the egg, syrup, and vanilla come to room temperature makes whisking so much easier, and it creates a beautifully smooth consistency. Once everything is well mixed, I set the bowl aside, ready for it to add that special warmth and richness to our dough. It's these little steps that bring all the holiday cheer right into the kitchen, with the egg, maple syrup, and vanilla mixture whisked to a smooth, rich consistency. I set this bowl aside. It's ready to bring all that beautiful flavor to the dough when we combine everything. I love this little pause. It feels like the ingredients are waiting for their big moment. And even as I pass by the bowl, I catch hints of the sweet, cozy aroma that makes this recipe so special. Each part of the process adds a layer of holiday cheer, building up the flavor bit by bit. Now, it's time to set up my kitchen mixer. Since I'm making a double batch, I'm relying on my trusty 7-quart stand mixer. This powerhouse is a lifesaver for big holiday baking projects. It handles thick, dense dough effortlessly, and with the larger capacity, I can double recipes without stressing the motor. If you're using a smaller tilt-head mixer, I'd recommend sticking to a single batch to avoid overworking it. But with my 7-quart mixer, I know I'm all set to mix up this delicious dough smoothly and efficiently. It's one of those kitchen tools that makes holiday baking a whole lot easier and more enjoyable. Now, for the butter and sugar. In the bowl of my kitchen mixer, I add 3/4 of a cup of unsalted butter that's been softened to room temperature. Softening the butter is key here. It blends so much better at room temperature, giving us that light, fluffy texture we want in the dough. If you're ever in a pinch and need to soften butter quickly, I've shared my top 3 methods for softening butter on my blog, with a link in the description below. It's a lifesaver for those last-minute baking sessions. Next, I add 1/2 cup of sugar. The sugar brings just the right amount of sweetness and creates a delicate crunch around the cookie edges when they bake. Using the paddle attachment, I start the mixer on low speed, gradually increasing to medium to avoid a sugar cloud. I let the butter and sugar cream together for about 2 to 3 minutes until the mixture turns light and fluffy. This creaming step is essential for that soft, tender cookie texture we all love. Afterward, I stop the mixer and use a silicone spatula to scrape down the sides, ensuring everything is evenly incorporated and ready for the next step. Now, I add the egg and maple syrup mixture to the butter and sugar, blending on medium speed until it's fully combined and smooth. At this stage, the dough takes on a rich, warm color, and the aroma of chocolate and spices starts filling the kitchen. It's the first hint of the holiday flavors to come. hope you're having as much fun making this chocolate ginger sugar cookie dough as I am. If you're enjoying this recipe, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the bell so you'll never miss out on more festive holiday baking ideas. Have you tried making cookies like this before? How did they turn out? Or do you have any tips or tricks you'd like to share? I'd love to hear your ideas in the comments. Thanks so much for hanging out with me in the kitchen. Let's keep the holiday baking magic going. Next, I start adding the dry ingredients. I add them gradually, about a third at a time, keeping the mixer on low speed to avoid a floury mess. Adding the dry ingredients slowly ensures everything blends smoothly without overworking the dough, which is especially important for a soft cookie texture. As the dry ingredients incorporate, the dough begins to thicken. Here's a tip I always follow. Keep the mixer on low throughout the step, since the dough is quite dense. Mixing on low keeps everything well combined without putting extra strain on the mixer or toughening the dough. To check if the dough is ready, I pinch off a small piece. If it holds together without sticking, it's good to go. But if it feels a bit sticky, you may need just a touch more flour. In that case, I recommend adding flour 1 tablespoon at a time, blending after each addition. This cautious approach prevents overflouring, so the dough stays tender but easy to roll and cut. Baking holiday cookies has always been one of my favorite family traditions. It's like the kickoff to all things festive in our house. What started as a fun and very messy activity with my kids has now turned into a full-on holiday production. I still remember the days when more icing ended up in their mouths than on the cookies. Now we're baking big batches to share with friends, family, and teachers. And every year we try to outdo ourselves with new flavors and designs. This year, I'm stepping up my gingerbread game with a variety of recipes. From classic gingerbread to twists like chocolate ginger and amber gingerbread. There's something for everyone in my gingerbread recipes playlist. Trust me, it's worth checking out if you want to add some variety to your holiday baking. And don't worry, I've got all the tips and tricks to make sure your cookies hold their shape and look amazing, even if you're working with some wild cookie cutters. But cookies aren't the only treat we're whipping up this season. If you're more into rich, creamy desserts, my fudge playlist is a must-watch. It's packed with recipes for perfectly smooth fudge that's guaranteed to impress, or just keep you happily snacking. Holiday baking is a little messy, a little chaotic, and always a lot of fun. It's not just about the cookies. It's about making memories, sharing laughs, and sneaking bites of dough when no one's looking. So grab your rolling pin, pick a recipe from the playlists, and let's bake up some holiday magic together. Once the dough is fully mixed and has a thick, slightly firm texture, I divide it into 2 portions. Using my trusty silicone spatula, I carefully scoop each portion onto a piece of plastic wrap. The dough at this stage is rich and pliable, but can be sticky to handle. So I like to take my time here to keep things neat and organized. Here's a little trick I swear by. Instead of shaping the dough into a disc right away, I loosely wrap each portion first. This keeps my hands clean and prevents the dough from sticking everywhere. Once it's wrapped, I press and shape it into a flat disc. Not only does this make it easier to handle, but it also keeps the dough neatly contained and ready for chilling. These small steps help keep the process smooth and my kitchen mess-free. Once the dough is shaped into flat discs, I place them in the refrigerator to chill for at least an hour. Chilling is such an important step. It firms up the dough, making it so much easier to roll out, roll and cut into shapes. Plus, chilled dough holds its shape beautifully in the oven, so your cookies won't end up looking like abstract art when you pull them out. This little step can mean the difference between cookies that are Instagram ready and ones you end up eating in private. If you're not planning to use the dough right away, freezing is your best friend, especially during the holiday baking marathon. To freeze, I give each disc an extra layer of protection by wrapping it again with plastic wrap or aluminum foil. Then I pop them into a freezer-safe zip-top bag. Of course, I label the bag with the date and chocolate ginger sugar dough using a Sharpie, because we've all been there, staring at a mystery freezer bag, wondering, is this dough or leftover chili? The dough can stay frozen for up to 3 months, giving you plenty of time to prep ahead. When you're ready to bake, just thaw the discs overnight in the fridge, and they'll be ready to roll. Literally. Whether you're staying ahead of the holiday rush or just love feeling extra prepared, this trick saves time, stress, and your sanity. And that's it. Our chocolate ginger sugar cookie dough is prepped and ready to roll, cut, and bake into festive holiday treats. This dough is a true holiday favorite, with its beautiful depth of flavor from the cocoa, warm spices, and rich maple syrup. It's sturdy enough to hold intricate cutout shapes, yet tender and delicious when baked. Perfect for creating cookies that are both beautiful and irresistible. I hope you enjoyed baking along with me today. There's so much you can do with this dough, from classic cutouts to more creative designs. But the fun doesn't stop here. Once your cookies are baked, it's time to decorate. In my next video, I'll show you how to flood cookies with royal icing, step by step. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned decorator, I've got tips to make your cookies look like they came straight from a bakery. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss it. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen, and happy holiday baking. I hope every bite is as joyful as the season itself.